whatever we're doing here today. I don't think I have video on this one, which is fine. The audio should be there. But again, so the idea is that you can focus as possible on the screen, which is your screen now, which is really cool. But as well, that you can always go back to it. Right now, don't try to follow me. Right? Don't try to follow with the software. Just see me. Right? Let's do this and we'll make sure I know how long it's going to take us. We'll see what's going Notes, yeah, absolutely notes, especially commands and steps right here, which I'm actually following the reading. It's a great source, and I think we should have this feature here at school as well with the PDF. If you go to tools, and then you go to comment, if I'm not mistaken, right under PDF, you get this this screen, and I click under the highlighter and just select different colors. Right, because we're going to be following this, taking you guys through developing your floor plans with the surveys that you guys have done, right? So what it says right here, right, this series of drawings illustrates the sequence in which a plan drawing is executed. Although the sequence can vary depending on the nature of the building design being drawn, always try to proceed from the most continuous regulating elements to those that are contained or defined by the elements. And I think, again, it depends who the person you're working with is, how long this person has been in the field, right? Just like anything, right? People have different ways of doing the same thing. Like kind of like carne asada or whatever, right? Really, like to someone, I think they're the best at grilling that. And you talk to someone like, what? You do what? And that's crazy, right? So again, it's just technique, personal technique. But what is important here, though, is that you have a method, right? Some sort of protocol procedure, right? And in this case, right, it's talking about the regulating elements, right, which is the largest components right here driving the building. Right? And it continues as I scroll down. First, establish the major lines that regulate the position of structural elements and walls. And that's where we're going to start, right, with the grid line. A grid of center lines is a convenient and effective means of indicating structural and modular systems. All right, guys, and I'll take you guys through how that looks. Now, I don't have a survey of the building, right? But really, for what we're doing right now, it doesn't really matter. So this is how I'm actually starting. I'm actually starting with something as simple as a rectangle, right? You can call it a box. Right? So I just type rectangle, right? Again, origin point. And then I use the @ I know your book, I think, uses the letter R. That's fine as well. 2 feet, let's say, by 2 feet. Right. And that would be a 2 feet column. Right. Good. That'll be a 2 feet column. What's going on here? Right. We're gonna start with the grid. So I'll take you guys through that. Right. The first thing that we need to do, as always, is start up a new file. All right. Well, this is opening. Right. What are the first things that we set up when we create a new file? Huh? It's part of your layout, right? But what do we call those? Feet, inches, meters, centimeters. You got this. Yes. They are your units, right? Correct. You guys got this. So I open up Rhino, right, automatically, the first thing. So how do we do this? Units, enter. Again, and you do this constantly, right? Just make it a habit working on a new file right away. First thing to do is set up your units, because then you can scale it down. But again, that's work that you don't want to do, right? So model units. In this case, since we're going to work with the building, right? Modeling the building. Let's actually do feet. And then for your distance display, let's do feet and inches, right? Again, using feet versus inches as your model units. Right? For studio, we're going to be modeling your little model, which is 22 feet, I think, for the largest distance. So we'll be using inches there. This is what you get. But in this case, we're going to be doing feet. And that just means that as you enter a number, right, that means that it's 1 feet or 1 foot rather than an inch. And you'll see right now in a minute. So I'm just gonna hit OK, and it seems that nothing happened. Again, part of how I work, and maybe for right now, just so it's not another way, I'm gonna turn off the grid F7. Right, and again, in this case, right, we have our columns, which are those steel columns right there, and I'll do two types right here. So I'm just gonna type rectangle, right? Again, corner of the rectangle, add, right? Do 1 foot, right, about 1 foot, enter, right? And I type distance, right? And you always want to verify your work, right? Double check. In this case, that's correct. That's a foot. Again, remember, I'm just doing this generally speaking. It's not necessarily that our columns here at school, that's what they measure, right? At the same time, they can be bigger, right? Rectangle, do another rectangle. I'm going to turn on my smart track, right? So I can actually place my cursor or snap to my object right there, if it allows me, on that end, so that it's neatly aligned. And I'm going to turn off center. There we go. All right, so that's what it does. It gives me that little guide. And I'm going to do a bigger column. Let's say that I had a 2 feet by 2 feet. All right, so again, distance. All right, that's a 1 foot column, and maybe even I can, do that. Oh, that's quite big, but it's okay. All right, it's a 2 foot column. Now you also see columns. How else do you see columns, right? Well, it's a circle, right? So type circle, enter. Right, in this case, now it's asking us for a radius, right? So again, let's say that I have a tiny column, right? It says a 6 inches of radius, right? And I'll do another one, right? Maybe that this one's a foot, right? So these are all structural members, right? In column. And then in our case here at school, right, we have those beams, right, as the columns, your I beams. Now, again, precision is important for us. There's also a level of precision that we go for, right? And what does that mean? Well, I'm just going to quickly model, those columns right there, the eyes. Right? So I'm just going to do an offset. I'm going to offset, say, 0.5 inches. Right? I'm going to offset inwards. I'm going to do a line right in the center. I'm going to turn on my mid. Right? I'm going to do a line that is just the guide. Right? I'm going to offset touch line 0.25 inches. Right? I'm going to offset that one way. Press enter to repeat. Offset the other way. And I'm going to trim. Right? And then I'm going to trim that, 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 that. Right click, and then these components right there, I'm going to explode them. All right, so I'm going to explode that and that right there. I'm going to press extend. All right, that's my boundary object. Extend those right there. Enter, and then one more trim. All right. Well, actually 4 more trims, but in a single action. Enter. Delete that. Delete that center line right there. And if you look out our window, right? That is, let's say, a profile view or a cut view of your eye. Now, be my guest, right? You're more than welcome. You should, right? Go ahead, measure it, right? Just so you know, right? So your brain starts, getting familiar with half an inch, maybe quarter of an inch thick, right? And I'm talking about how thick that the metal is, right? Which is the gauge, right? But again, for us, perhaps this is good enough, right? It's just a diagrammatic version of the columns, right? I mean, in this case, we're just concerned about the rhythm or the structure of, the grid. Now, something that you definitely want to do, right, is to join these objects, right? Right now, they're all different line components, right? They're all different line segments. And again, I'm going to be copying this a lot. I'm going to be arranging,
Right, so I don't have to make sure that I select everything. I just want to click anywhere on that object and be able to move it all together. Right? Anyone remembers the command for that? Huh? Yeah, you got it, Jose? Huh? What? All right, so I did group. Is there another one? Join. Right? All right, good. Actually, I like that. All right, that's.
Both of them are technically right answers. All right, so I'm gonna copy. I'm gonna copy this guy right there. I'm gonna copy it to the right. Right. I can type group, right, and I select all of that, enter, and it sort of does what I wanted, right? I mean, just be able to move it all at the same time together. And then I also have join, right? I type enter. Now remember, join is you gotta go all around it in a sequence, right? So watch, right? I'm gonna select that curve right there, then that one right there, that one right there, that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, and that's it, right? So the same way I end up with a single object, right? I recommend join, right? Because should you by any chance ungroup something else and you happen to click on this as well, you're going to ungroup everything and things get messy really quickly, right? So I personally do join. Right, we are actually going to do group in a second with some different components, right, which are you cannot join, and I'll show you guys that in a minute. So the answer, let's put it right, both of them are answer. Ideal answer is join, right? So make sure that you join your objects, right? So we have this, right? We have our first column. So I'm gonna make a copy. I'm gonna bring it, and I'm gonna work with that one since it's the one that we can see from where we're standing right now. Now, like I said, I'm gonna be copying and using this a lot and moving it. So I'm actually gonna give myself a center. And what do I mean by that? I'm gonna draw a line, all right, from that end to that end, and from that end to that end, right? Because that right there, that's the center of this object, right? And I can move it as I please from there. So before we do that, right, let me see. Oh, Hugo, I need to let you in. All right. So Hugo, you're in. Right. Oh man, there's so much stuff on my screen. I need to get somewhere else. All right. And you guys can see fine there on your screen? Yeah. Okay. So I won't worry too much then if it's too small on the on our bigger screen right here, as long as you can see it there in front of you. Layers, right? Really important. On this file that I have set up already, let's see what layers I used. All right. So I have my reference. All right. Let's start with that one. All right. So I'm gonna create new layer. I'm gonna call this ref. And again, how can I create a new layer? Well, I can. For me, well, it depends. But for right now, right clicking on the white menu right there, and then I'll add a new layer, and then also columns. Columns I'm gonna leave black for right now. I'm lying. I'll do a dark gray for right now. Well, black. Just do black, and then my ref, right? My ref, that one I just want it very very light. So I'll do a sort of light gray, and you'll see why in a minute. Now, how do I change objects layer? I will select that right there, and then my ref, send it to that ref right there, and I can turn off those right there. Now, I am going to use group right now. I'm going to type group. I'm going to select those right there, enter. Right now, they come together, and again, I can type copy, right, from that intersection. Right, intersection is on, and all right, and then if I type 10 feet, right, oops, Right? That's there. Right? Now, let's make sure that you send the objects to their right layers, right? Because right now, before grouping them, actually I should have done that, so I'm gonna undo that. I'm going to ungroup real quick, right? So remember, you can ungroup by typing ungroup. I select those lines right there. Those are on the right layer, which is ref. This guy right there should be under columns, right? Columns. I select them both again, and I type group. Now, probably, right, how do you guys have your distances? And I'm also going to give myself a new layer called guides. Guides. And guides layer, you can think about this as your thinking layer, sort of the layer that you think with, or at least the way that I see it, right? I mean, it's the layer that you think with. You don't, those lines are just for you, right? Just for you. I'm actually gonna habilitate that layer by clicking on this column right there, making sure that a check mark is there. That means that I'm on the right layer. Select that line, send it to that right layer as well. Now, how are you guys doing this, right? Well, you probably were measuring, right, from, let's say, the column. Right now we have those columns that need to be with the wall, right? Anyone has that number? One half. From the outside edge of the column to the wall where those boards are pinned up. Anyone's got that number? More or less.
Aha, so we're gonna cross-check our distances, huh? Well, I got this, and you got that. 11, 3 3/4. Okay, anyone disagrees or challenges that?
All right, so I'll do 11, 3 3/4. Okay, so great. So I'm gonna type offset, right? 11, right? I have to finish or let the software know that I'm done with my feet portion of my distance, right? So 11 feet. That's the what's that guy called? Apostrophe? Apostrophe, right? Yes. Apostrophe sign, right? For your feet. And then 3. And then units like that, I just put the decimal, right? But actually curious, right? Whoops, 11.3. I'm gonna actually escape, press enter one more time, select that object right there, 11.3. And the 3/4, actually, I'll just put them like this, 375. Right, there we go. Notice that it's giving me a preview, right? Or where would that be, right? And that would be there, right? So what does this line represent? The wall, right, Jose? That's correct. That's where the column, and right now you're looking at my screen, right? The same way I think that we're looking those columns right there, right? So we would be somewhere out here, right? We'll be somewhere out here looking this way, right? Looking out. Now let's go this direction, or let's go that direction right there. So what's the spacing between those two columns? Between and the next one. Oh, adjacent. And the one adjacent to this left. What is that? No, no one? 26 feet 11 inches. I'll take that. I'll take that. Right. So again, I got a copy, right? This column, right? We're here. Let's think about it this way. Again, I'm gonna draw a line, which is a guide. Right. I'm gonna do that. I'm going to copy it, right? 2611, 2611, all right. 26 feet, 11 inches, enter. It gives me a preview now. I have to hold shift so that I go orthogonally, right? And do that. Whoops, I lied. That's actually the opposite, the other direction, right? Actually going now, right? So copy, right? 26, 11. One more time. 26, 11, enter, right? So it hits there. And I'm going to move all of this out of the way. Right, and I'll delete that right there. And again, I'll do a distance, right, from there to there. That's your 2611. So that means, right, I can copy, right, this little column that I have here, and we have that, right? And perhaps if I start entering dimensions right now, as you draft, let's not add the dimensions because they're just going to be on the way. They're just going to be even confuse you what lines are part of the actual walls and structure and what's dimension. Actually, when you're working on this, you first draft all your lines, and dimensioning is one of the last things that you do. You have to work on that little dimensions. Actually, there's some that you don't want to show. So dimensioning is right now, that's why I like using the DIS command, right, for distance. Because that's sort of internally, right? Distance, you're able to measure from there to there. You look at your command line, you see that it's 2611, and that's good. Right? It should be fine. I'm going to delete those. Now, what we should start setting, right? So you can actually visualize it and see it, and I'll extend this guy right there, right? So that's still the wall. It's actually your column grid, right? And the column grid centers on the columns, right? I'll show you how that looks, right? So I type line, and it's from that intersection, right? And it runs through all of your columns, right? So technically, here in our school, right, even that would just continue. It just goes, 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 goes. And the same the other direction, right? So I type line, right? And this just continues there. I'm going to move, right? This again, this is how we started, right? If I turn on my control points, right? So if you select the line itself, again, this is a feature the Rhino 6 improves that actually they're already on anytime that you click on it. But in your guys' cases, you have to select the line or the curve, I'm sorry, and press F10, right? Function 10. And then these points right there appear, and then you can just move them. And again, as we do more research into drawings, these grid lines should extend past the structure. I'll show you guys how that's looking right here in this little example that I had worked before, right before class. We have walls, right, and then we have the columns. Now, actually, if you zoom in really, really, really close, this and this is something that we'll do in post-production, right? Once we start drawings for your final presentation, that grid line, the actual line itself, is special, a particular type of line, which is the center line, right? Dash, dot, dash, dot, long dash, tiny dot, or short dash, sorry, right, which is that. Regardless, let's actually create the layer as well. So call grid, right? So I go into the file that we're working, right? And then I call this call grid. If you see I am abbreviating, right, try to be as brief as possible with my layer colors. I'm gonna give this something that stands out, right, for sure. So one of my faves, right, that hot pink right there. Click OK. Again, these lines should be switched onto the column grid. Whoops, and careful. I'm just moving. Hey, Oscar, what's coming on? Sorry. All right. So again, we gotta switch those lines, right, which is your grid, onto that column grid that we created, right? Column grid layer. So again, select the line, send it on to that layer right there. Now, let's talk about walls. Right? We have a special condition, or a special aspect going on here at school, and that we actually have the bottom part of the wall, right, is windows, and then did anyone measure how tall the windows are? No. Right? Someone might have gotten there, right? But this is less than 3 feet, right? Sure. So when I talk about making floor plans, right? And actually, right now we look at the reading right there, and it'll tell us in between 2 to 4 feet, right? Um, we're actually cutting through the wall, right? Not the glass. But we still need to show, right, that there's actually glass underneath that. There's actually a particular way of doing that. But for right now, for our exercises, I'll start with walls, and then I'll go into windows. Right, how to draw windows. So for right now, let's do that. Let's create a new layer, right, and call this walls. And I'll select a color. Now I'm going to select that line right there, and since that's the edge of my wall, I'm going to send into that layer. Now I'm going to type offset. Right, offset is going to be your best friend in terms of doing these walls. I'm kind of spacing this. So let's say for right now, how thick those walls are. They're actually kind of big because it's even further out. So I'll say I'll do a number of them. I'll start with 8 inches, and from there we'll work with different ones, right? And then I offset, right? Be careful which way you offset, right? Because if you offset inwards, you're going to start taking away from these dimensions from the column to the edge of the wall, right? So you should actually offset outwards, right? And again, make sure that you're on the right layer, which is walls right now, right? Here's another one for you guys. Get the distance right now from the inner face, the face that's looking at the column, to the wall where your work is. So that we can draw that wall, and then this yes, from the edge of the column to where your work is displayed right now. 25 feet and 11 inches. 45 feet and 11 inches. 45 feet and 11 inches. Right. So again, I'll go into my guides layer. Right. And memorize the number for me because my memory from the column. That's from the wall. Oh, we can do the wall. Even better. Right. So that's from wall to wall. Okay. So then I'll do this. Right. I don't have to draw that guideline. I can just offset. Right. Offset. Enter. What do I want to offset? Well, this wall right there. 45 feet. Enter. 11 inches. Oops. I had already done the 45. I'll do it one more time. Offset. And then the distance is 45 feet, 11 inches. Now enter, right? And I click there. I will turn that green for the walls. Bless you, all right? Now I'm gonna offset this line right here, right? And I'm gonna do a different offset, right? I'll do offset 5 inches. Uh, Offset 5 inches. and offset this line right there. I'm going to move right this column grid, right, because you're gonna realize. I don't know if you remember from measuring and surveying the building, right, but there's actually another set of structural members hidden behind those walls right there. That it goes actually all through our offices. And at some point you see that the walls sort of right, actually where the cabinets are, right, there's thicker, right, there's a space. If you walk over around there, you're like, what's going on right here? Because I'm walking around and there's no room that I can go in, right? And there's this bump going on, right? Well, sometimes, right, most of the times, right, that's actually a structural member that is hidden there and somewhere there. But so that's why I'll project that, because there is. I can say that there's another set of those columns for that, which you can actually see from where? Floor, right? But also from the outside. Right, whereas if you look at this building right here from that and right there, you're coming inside, you're gonna go up the stairs, where you have the two sets of pillars, right? Those carry all the way right from the front, all the way to the back. And I have some pictures during construction that I'll share with you guys. All right. So that's why, again, your grid, right? Just leave it there, right? And your grid becomes very important. And just for the record as well, setting your grids and columns, you actually dimension from the center of the column, right? The grid spacing, just say for fun, right? I'm going to measure this, right? Distance. I'm going to measure right from this center to the next one, right? And I have that is 27 feet 11 inches, right? I'm gonna say, right? I'm gonna leave it up to you guys. Are the spacing even? Is the spacing even between columns? It's not. So just be mindful of that. But I'm just gonna use this as an example. So I'm gonna offset again, 27 feet 11 inches, and I'll do that. I'll do it one more time, right? And another one. And I'll switch this ones to the column grid, right? And as well, this guy right there, right? Oops. Projects. Right, this right there goes all the way over there, past the lobby, past the two studios over there, past the all the way to the smoking balcony, and even further. No, I think that's it. Right, so somewhere there. Okay, that's it. All right, so I'm gonna move this out of the way, and this right here as well spans a good length, right? So you can say that we don't have much, right? The size of how big things are going to be, right? So the first thing that you should be setting, right, is your columns, right, your structure. And then from there, your walls, right, your walls. I'm going to start kind of freestyling right here. You guys have the right dimensions, right? But I'm just going to, walk you guys through this. All right. So then let's say that I turn the corner right here, right? And I'm going into the ladies' room, right? And say that this is the corner for that. I'm gonna set myself first on the right layer, which is walls. I'll do this line, do from that extent, and then return. Now I can do offset again, right? Um, 5 inches, enter, and then I'll do that. Trim, enter, trim that out, and there, right? Now that's graphically how it should look, right? You should clean this up right here, and it should be continuous, right? At least between the interior walls and the exterior walls, right? You separate them sort of all the interior walls. If they meet at some point, right? They cross. Just make it open, sort of like a maze. What's going on, Alex? Yes. Well, that's something that you guys are get from your. It varies. It varies a lot. The 5 inches is some sort of standard statement because I think it's like 47 inches, one and three quarters. So it varies. This is really hard for us to see right here, but this is what I
from the finish over here from the inside. But to get to the outside of this type of it's actually kind of unique. It's thick. And you can see it actually, but you can actually see it better as well. These little windows. The little windows you have the glass, and even it goes out still like 6 more inches or so. So it's a thick wall, right? And a lot of it sometimes is for aesthetics, right? And then also shadows, right? You wanna get some shadows around the windows, right? Kind of covering some part of the sun, right? So it varies. I mean, you can use the standardization. Sometimes you hear the instructors say use 5 inches for interiors, 8 inches for exterior, right? Or anywhere from 8 inches to a foot for exterior, right? But that's sort of a roughly speaking, something that you just gotta draw something quickly and you do your best, right, at representing it. But if you really want to know, right, well, especially for something that is built already, well, it's just measuring it, confirming. Let's put it that way. Verifying the field that's the right thickness of the wall.
Right. So right now I'm just using those numbers for just to draw something. Right? Did anyone measure the thicknesses of the walls? Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah. And again, for our purposes, I mean, it's we have a test with this around 5.5 is fine. But that's what you should rely on, don't your dimensions, right? And your notes.
Because you're gonna start seeing that, I don't know, funny enough, but
Each of you guys are going to have different numbers, right? And if you start borrowing some numbers from over here from this person and borrowing some from over there, your entire thing is not going to kind of check.
because each of you guys were measuring different things. So I'm gonna trim that out, right? So trim is gonna be your friend as well, right? Let's say that I get to right, and we start framing, right, the major walls, just like our reading suggests, right? A grid of center lines, right? The structural modular systems, and then thickness, right, to the walls, posts, and columns, right? And you can see, right, just like anything that we do pretty much here in school, everything is a process, right? But it's quite a really awesome thing to see how things just like grow. Like these lines are almost just a bunch of lines that don't make sense, right? The ones that you want to look at, but little by little, you refine it and you add to it and you clean it, right? And things start looking better, right? Or as how you sort of picture them, right? So we have wall thicknesses. Now from there we can proceed with the windows, doorways, and stairways, as well as your doorway openings, right? So I'll go through some of those here, right? Let's say that again, I'm gonna go to my guides layer. I'm gonna do a line, right? And guidelines, bless you, are again your tool, right? I'm gonna do a guideline right there. I'm gonna offset, right? Let's say that 6 feet. I'm just guessing, right? And then I can do a line, right, from there to there, and then I can offset, let's say 3 feet, enter this way, right? I'm going to select that and delete it. Type trim. I select those two, delete that. I can type match layer, right? Those two layers to match this right there. I can create a new layer, right? Called doors, and give it a different color to doors, right there. Again, for standardization right now, I can just draw a standard rectangle, and then I'll just make it at 3 feet wide, and then let's say I'll do. Anyone measure the thickness of doors? No, just curious. All right, so I'll just do 2 inches for right now. You guys let me know how does that look. All right, so I'll send that to its right layer, right, doors. Now remember, something that we're concerned with is the way, and I'll move it in place so you can see what I'm talking about. All right, that. All right. Now, something that we're concerned with is the way the door swings, right? Which is, right, if this, I'll show you guys what I mean. If this door opens like that, or if it opens this way, right, inwards or outwards. Restroom doors open into the restroom, right? And I think it's something like that. And then again, things like this are what you want to avoid, right? Now, something that, at least a question that I had, when I first started this is, oh my God, like a door is not just the door, right? I mean, it has a frame, it has the gap underneath it, and it has some gap on the side, right? So what is it, right? So again, right now, just drawing a rectangle like that is good enough, and you measure the opening of the door, right? Not the door itself, but even with the frame right there, where everything would go. A lot of these things are already sort of stuck. You just buy it, you just kind of fit them. But the frame is part of the door system, right? The contractor just gives you that hole where the whole frame would go. Okay, so just measure the door opening there. And even doors and stuff like that, you can start relaxing. Let's just say, I mean, you measure them that I can almost guarantee you that all the doors are going to see the same width. Right? Perhaps closet doors are different, and front doors, such as the lobby and double doors like that. But I think for all the offices, check them, right? Check them. You still have to check them, you do. But pay attention to that, right? I was like, oh, interesting. Now we also have what swing, our door swing, right? So for this, we can use our tool, our arc, right? And let's see. I'm gonna start with the start point. Let's say there. End of arc. Let's say there. No, not that one. Right click. Start point. Let's do actually from here and then to here. And radius. I'll do a radius of 3 feet, which is the opening of the door. Right? And those door swings actually should be on a different layer, because we're gonna send those to a different line type. Right? So, and that way we practice with our layers as well for right now. You can have them actually in different ways, but right now let's just do door swing. I'm gonna do another blue, perhaps a lighter blue, so that I know it's in that family, the doors family. All right. And again, these, right, those should not be there, right? And that's your grid right there. Now, let's say that I'm gonna close this wall right there. I'm gonna draw a line right there. I'm gonna match it, match layer, match that one to match that one. Let's do a window. Right? Let's do a number of windows. Right? So I'm gonna copy. All right, I'm gonna do that. Let's say I'm gonna say I have a 9-foot opening. Right, like that. And then that in here there's windows. Right, so I can actually copy, right, that right there from that end to this other one. Right, create a new layer right there. Call this windows. I use blue. That's fine already. What color should we use for windows? Orange. You can use orange. All right, hit that. Right click. OK. Now this is the way that let's draw windows right now like this. Right. So we have overall bottom frame, right, which you can see here. Now, what else are you going to see? Well, you're going to see the post at the ends, right? So notice that this guy right here is a rectangle, right? That's a full rectangle. I'm actually going to do, and let's see the distance, right? So this rectangle is of 8 inches thick, right? I'm going to draw, and again, you should measure right? The depth of it, right? But and I mean this right here, that shows about, that's this right, that shows about 2 inches or less. Again, it depends a lot, right, on the system that you're using. I'm gonna do an inch and a half, inch and a half roughly, right? All right. So just double check, right? So I'm gonna do a rectangle at 8 inches, comma, what was it, 1.5 inches, enter, right? And I'm going to move it there, right? Now this, ladies and gentlemen, right, that is your vertical post, right? That's the end. And there's another one, right, on this other end, right? Let's say that this window was split in 3 bays like we have there, right? The way that we can do this easily, right? I go into my guides layer, right? Type line, right? I'm gonna do a line from there to there, right? I'm going to move it out. And there's this command called divide. All right. I'm going to divide that line segment into 3 equal segments. Press enter when done. It work. All right. So divide, select line, enter. Number of segments 3, enter. And you get those points, right? Those points right there. I'm still under my guides layer, right? Bring that a line there, and then from my intersection, it's not working good. These O snaps are not. Oh, I'll use point. Point. There's an O snap for points, right? So I'm gonna turn that on, and that automatically snaps to those points right there. And what am I doing? Well, I'm adding those frames, right? So if you look at that window right to your left, right, it's a number of glass panels, right? How many? You guys counted them. I think someone was counting them the last class. A good amount, all right? So now what do I do? I'm gonna copy right from the midpoint, right? I set that one there, and I set that one there, and right click and exit. Right? I'm gonna move this out of the way, right? So what's the last thing that I'm missing here for this Windows? Huh? The glass, right? The glass, correct. So for that, right, I like to also have just a rectangle. Draw a rectangle. Now the thickness as well varies, right? It's actually going to vary between this glass, indoor glass, and then your outdoor glass. That glass right there, if I'm not mistaken, the one, especially the one underneath it, or the little one, that is standard. I think that you hit it, right, by accident and break it, right? All the little pieces, the parts. That's for safety. Right? Don't test it. Prove it. um, Let you pay that bill, right? But so anyway, the thickness. I think I do about half an inch, just standard, right? So I just like to do a rectangle, right? That is zero point 0.5 inches wide, and then I'll just make it 2 feet tall right now. Oops, rectangle, right? Rectangle, enter, and then add 0.5 inches, comma 2 feet. And why is it not working? Rectangle. That's my first corner. Add 0.5 inches, comma 2 feet. There we go. Right. And it's thin, right? It's a really thin rectangle. But again, a lot of especially older school folks, right, really want you to draw the 2 lines of the glass, right, rather than just doing one, right? So some people are very particular about that in their drawings. So I'm going to send that to the right layer. I move that, right? Move this rectangle from its midpoint, to this other midpoint there. Now, as you can see, it's not quite reaching, right? And what is this? That doesn't go there. It's not reaching where it should, right? So again, you turn on its control points. In this case, they're already on. I can select them, type move, right? And you stretch it, right? You stretch it. Let me send. Right, so see, that's not right. All right, we'll fix that in a minute. And then we can just copy, all right, that glass, right, from that midpoint, and that midpoint. Now, I guess my spacing is not correct. So I just need to adjust it, right, with those control points. And that's why your lab right now, it's so important, because it starts talking about those control points and how to update or edit your geometry, right, using those control points. That, again, they are very, very, very helpful. All right, and I just escape. I'm going to select this because I don't need it anymore, right? Delete it, and you have that, right? I mean, now again, right now I have the glass is actually centered. It's actually something. The glass is actually pushed almost to the edge of the frame, rather like the middle frame. Actually, if you only the inside, right, it's thicker on the inside and have more space right there. So that's also something that, again, not a big deal, right? But it is part of the design consideration, right? And actually building your floor plan. And what I mean by that, right now, without being accurate, right? I mean, does this go there, right? Because it changes things, right? I mean, or it actually inset like that, right? So this would actually give you some sort of even slight shadow, right? If you have the light source coming in, this would actually work a little bit like shading device, etc. Right? So for right now, standard, yes, especially when you're starting, I just do center. Also because I have my midpoint snap, which I can just automatically snap to midpoints. When you change it on me, then I have to set it on the mid and then move it, say half an inch, 2 inches or so, just to place it wherever I need. All right. So I think that's a good place. Now we also need to talk about the elevator, and we talk about the stairs. Right? We'll talk about those, and also your elevations, right? And how to set the elevations. But I think the most important thing here is to start the floor plan, right? Because even the floor plan, that's going to guide your elevations, because then you only measure the elevation of things. You'll have the width of the windows, for example, right? Already drawn here, because it's going to be done digitally, and then you can just project how much the height would be, right? Stairs, I mean, they're just like you guys were measuring, right? I'll do a line, and I'll sort of fake one. Let's say some stairs over here, right? Do a line right there. We create what? Our layers, right? So stairs, right? Stairs. You can select any color you like, right? Send that to its right color. You can have offset, right? How big are those steps? Huh? 1 foot? Yeah. All right. Oscar says 1 foot. I believe him. So you guys believe him? Sure. All right. So there you go. All right, we have our first step right there. Again, always double check your dimensions. So I type distance, enter, from that end to that end. That's a foot. And then from there, you can keep doing offset, or I just do copy, right? I like copy from that end to that end to that end. Now there's also, right, I'm going to do it adjacent to it. There's also the command array, right? Array. Select objects to array. I want to array that line, right? Number in the X direction, that's going to be 1, so enter. Then on the Y, let's say I have 10 steps, right? And then on the Z, only one as well. And then we click there. Notice that I move this. It gives me that spacing right there, right? So I just type 1, enter. It's there. Just, it's there. It's giving me a preview. It's like, hey, are you sure this is what you want? Right? It's white. It's really, really hard to see. But you're like, sure, that looks good. You then right click one more time, and that's it. Enter. Right? We'll get into the graphics, right? How to show the path of travel, right? Are you going down? Or are you going up? Are you coming up? Right? That one, bless you. That one is fine. You also have the atrium, right? So you should also have, call it a floor layer. Not floor, but floor. 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 Right? And this floor layer, this is your floor outline. All right, and I'll get into that layer right there. Let me select a different color. And then my stairs, I'll bring them lighter. All right, and then I'll go into my floor. Well, what is the floor layer? All right, and I'll go up polyline for right now. All right. Well, the floor layer is the outline, right? I mean, this is now, let's say, where there's glass, right? And then this is gonna turn to the bridge, right? And then this is going to wrap around somewhere there, and then maybe come here, and then maybe, and I'll close it. See, enter to close, right? So this, right, would be looking down, right? Would be looking down, but then we have the bridge, right? We have the bridge. So this bridge is the same length, right? But I'm going to type move. Oops, did I not draw the line? There it is. Nope, not you. That one right there. I'm gonna type move. What's the width of that bridge? Something like that. All right. So what was that? 5 feet. All right. Yeah. 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 I think 5 feet is 60 inches, no? So 5 feet. So I just type move. A curve right there. Enter. From there, move it 5 feet. Right? Oh, is that correct? Did I get all distance? All right, 5 feet. All right, and of course I'm getting way out of scale right here. And then you have the other wall right there, right? And then this floor continues doing something like this, and then it meets the wall. There's the guys room over here, and I got way out of scale, but because this bridge is only like that long, or kind of just even there. All right. Let me see. Is there anything else? So we've covered windows, doors, column grid, the columns, and we'll talk about the furniture and all that stuff soon. All right. Well, let's just get started. Any questions on the? Yeah, so you can pause, see it right there, have it in the background, sound, no sound, right? You can have it for your reference, right? But most importantly, I wanted to show you guys also the flow, right? I mean, it's also it really is like a puzzle, right? Do I use copy? Do I use offset? Do I use mirror? Do I use rotate? Those are all just tools, right? And think about it like you're playing a video game, right? You throw a combo, right? Like, combo, right? No, that Oscar, right? What combo? But it is, right? It really is just kind of like, okay, what's the
fastest way of doing this, right? Accurately. Right? So, and maybe that's why I really enjoy it. I mean, it's not the most fun exercise to draft, but when they allow you to it, okay, draw me this, and you have 4 to 6 hours, I love it. You know, just put on your headphones and you just offset, copy, trim, rotate, boom, 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 boom. I don't know, it feels good. It's kind of like even just relaxing or just kind of meditative. I know, right? Kind of weird. But again, just think about it. Just having a document, okay. I've gone through what commands, right? Now I can do this faster. And just ask. You know, just ask, and that's the best way that you will enhance your drawing skills. Yes. What else?
Well, I think I'll pause this.